Alright, so this is a tutorial video on how to use Google Docs to graph data. Open up your internet browser and go to Google, log in either using your student account or whatever email you choose to use for Google Docs. And we're going to open up Google Drive so we can create some docs. So I want to create a spreadsheet. That's the program we're going to use for graphing our data here. So once you have your spreadsheet created, the first step is to enter your data. So the data that you guys are going to be graphing is total mass of each rocket in your class versus the maximum net force of each rocket in your class. I'm not going to graph that data for you. I'm going to just make up my own data instead. So I'm going to graph the relationship between money and problems. You always want your x-axis or your independent variable in the left column and your y-axis or your dependent variable in the right column. So for me, that's money and problems. Do problems depend on money? For you guys, that's mass and maximum net force. Does maximum net force depend on mass of fuel? Okay, so I'm going to make up some numbers: $10, $20, $30, $40, $50. And problems, let's say it's 2, 14, 37, 44, and 86. Right, just arbitrary numbers that I'm making. So now it's time to actually graph the data. So you want to highlight by clicking and dragging the numbers that you want graphed. And then you can either click this Insert Chart button, or you can go to Insert Chart. Right? And it gives you all of these options on types of charts that you can insert. So it could be a horizontal bar graph, or vertical, or a line chart, or a combination of those things. What we want to use, all of those are great for their own purposes, but they're not useful for what we're doing now. What we want is a scatter plot. Okay, so we do not want to just connect the dots with a line or a curve. We want all the data points just scattered the way that they are. Okay, so it's going to do a point-by-point representation of all of our numbers. So let's insert that chart. Now Google Docs is kind of cool because it has some simple tools for editing your chart. So my data is all on here now, which is great. That's fantastic. But what my chart is lacking is a descriptive title. So let's just do that right now. Change this to money versus problems. That's what I'm graphing here. And it's also missing labels for my axes. So I can change the axes here by clicking and right-clicking and going to Edit Axis, Horizontal Axis Title. My horizontal axis, this is money. And I'm going to include units, dollars. And I can right click and say edit vertical axis, title. Well, this is problems. Oh, and I should include units there as well, total number. Cool. So now I have my title, my axes with labeled units, and my data. Now, the downside to using Google Docs is that you cannot add a trend line within the document itself. Okay, it does not have the function to do that. So instead, you're going to have to save it and add your own trend line. So in the chart itself, there's a little drop-down arrow in the top right corner where you can save that chart as an image. So we're going to do that. Once you have it saved as an image, you need to open up whatever image editor that you have, or go into Microsoft Office and add in your own line. So I'm going to do this in Microsoft Office, like I use Word. You could also use Microsoft Paint if you have Windows or some other image editor. I'm going to go ahead and insert my graph as an image here. So insert photo from file. It's in my downloads, and it was chart 1. So now I have this chart in here, and I'll zoom in so you can see it. View, zoom, let's do 100% zoom, maybe a little more. Cool, so there's my chart. And you're gonna have to insert the best fit line yourself if you're using Google Docs. Okay, so in this case I can insert a shape and have my shape either be a straight line if you think that a straight line's best, or maybe my shape needs to be a curved line, or you can have your own, enter in your own shape. I'm going to enter in a curve because this graph looks like it should be a little curved to me. Okay, so I'm going to just do my best. Whoops. I'm going to do my best to have this shape go in properly. Let's insert shape and have it be a curved line. And I'm just gonna try and make this nice smooth curve that goes through. Best fit of my data points. And there you go. So now I have my graph with a trend line. Now it's not a perfect trend line, but it's good enough to show the relationship. And based on my graph and my trend line, there is a relationship that shows that as money increases, so do problems. In other words, more money, more problems. And then below this, now you're in your word processor, you can just type in the answers to your analysis questions. And there you go. So hopefully that's good enough for you guys. Otherwise, you can check out other videos on YouTube or something. And good luck. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Make positive choices. Hasta luego.